Irulau. Watch your back, a trench is gonna get you. Watch your back, a trench is gonna get you. Watch your back,
Oh, there's a crying here. It's a coming from the utility. Gotta wash those red hands. It's the crimes of the Badlands. It's the crimes of the Badlands.
Warning, this podcast details crimes and descriptions of violence that may be disturbing or triggering. It may not be suitable for all listeners. We'll do our best to warn listeners about what to expect before each episode and to include them in our show notes. So enjoy the show. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, Julie. How are you doing?
Hi, Douglas. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
How was your week?
It was very chill, very relaxed, as it has been lately.
Yeah.
Yep.
3-day week. Awesome.
That's my way to go.
We had a holiday. The rest of us.
It's true. I didn't count how many. I think I must have worked like 2 days this week. So
Okay.
Winning.
Very nice. Yes, it is winning when you get that time off.
Welcome everybody to Crimes of the Badlands.
Yes. Welcome.
Mm.
Ongi Itori.
Ongetorri. That's welcome in Basque.
Mhm.
Exactly. Today we're drinking a cider.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just checking the name. Uxarte. That's Uxarte. And it's a nice Biscayan chacoli, which means, chacoli. Not chacoli, sorry.
Sidra.
It just comes naturally, doesn't it? Yes, Biscayan cider. And the cider is basically one of the traditional drinks of the Basque Country, actually.
Yes.
It's more traditional, let's say, than wine.
Yeah.
And
More apples than grapes.
Yeah, the thing is the grapes grow better, right, towards like lower lands, like the flatlands.
Yeah.
Like Rioja. There's a part of Rioja that is inside the Basque Country. And then traditionally, when you get into the mountains, instead of the grapes, you'd use the apples to make cider.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a long tradition in Basque Country, probably brought in by the Celtic peoples who emigrated into the Iberian Peninsula.
But they have taken it and ran with it, haven't they?
It's a big thing here.
It's huge.
Yeah.
There's a whole season.
Yeah.
Cider season.
It's lovely. And it's a typical thing we do here. We go to cider houses with big groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's set number of food like
Bacalao and omelette.
Yeah. Which is a dried cod omelette. And a few other, lots of meat as well.
Peppers.
Mm-hmm.
Big old steak.
Yeah, it's a set menu, sort of a set menu in a way. But
it is a set menu.
You're also allowed to take your own food.
You have chorizo in cider, cooked in cider. What else do they give you? Oh, the cheese with nuts, with walnuts is your dessert.
Yeah,
and the membrillo, the quince fruit.
Quince jelly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a set menu. It's Basque people like predictability.
And they like tradition.
Yeah, so that tradition's very fixed these days.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great day out.
It really is.
Usually.
It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun.
Exactly. But it's been a big part of Basque culture, even, fishing for. Oops, something fell. It's all good.
It's fine.
Like even going, like the Basques are quite well known, like historically, for being one of the first Europeans to arrive to North America as well, when they were hunting whales and cods.
Mm-hmm.
And even in those times, they would always take the cider, which was great.
Probably keeps for a long time.
It does, but what's more important, it has vitamin C.
Ah, yes. Very important. Scurvy.
Yeah.
Gotta prevent that scurvy.
Yeah, they didn't really know that, but it worked.
It worked, yeah. They had no idea what good they were doing for themselves.
Yeah, better than the gin that the British were taking everywhere.
Idiots. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Eventually,
I don't want to offend any of you Brits out there.
Eventually, they hit
gin on the high seas.
They hit on the lime and the tonic, so it's a good history, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right.
So you're going to start.
Oh yeah. So this is a mini episode today. We're going to be just telling some stories from the news
Little
here in the Basque Country or elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, what do we have? Okay, so we have 3 people arrested in, oh gosh, Bortsirac.
Bortsiriak, no?
Bortsiriak.
Bortsiriak.
Okay, so 3 people were arrested for growing 94 marijuana plants.
94. Okay,
94.
3 people arrested, yes.
Yeah.
We are allowed to have 3 plants, or is it 2 plants each?
I don't know the law.
It's either 2 or 3, I think. So they're clearly over the limit.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, between 3. We know that math, right? That math we can do. That 94 is more than those 3 people are allowed.
It's more, yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. So they arrested 3 people. They were 24, 29, and 41
Okay.
in Bortsiriak
Mm-hmm.
region. And they were
Mm-hmm.
they were on a routine patrol to prevent crimes against property. A citizen security patrol perceived a strong smell of marijuana near an abandoned farmhouse.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they were clued in. And despite the abundant undergrowth that made the access to the property difficult, the agents found 94 large marijuana plants, hoses, plastic bottles, fertilizer containers. Okay, they found all the stuff needed to grow marijuana, right?
Yeah.
And they also noted that this plot of land had been cleared of weeds and prepared for like cultivation.
So it was outside.
Yeah, it was outside of this abandoned farmhouse.
Mm.
So they found it, right? And then in order to, kind of catch the people in the act, they just started a surveillance of the place, but through drones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they had a drone flying over the property for a while, and which captured like images of them.
Oh, wow.
Working on the farm.
Mm.
And and so they had their evidence, and when the 3 of them left the place one day, they intercepted their vehicle, and they had found in their trunk 6 bottles of water used to irrigate the plantation. So basically all they found on them when they detained them was
water.
I
mean, I'm supposing...
But they did have the photographic evidence
the drones,
of them working, harvesting, farming.
Okay, well, it's kind of surprising.
Yeah.
There's a clear...
It's surprising why.
There's a clear oversupply of marijuana right now.
Is there?
Mm.
No, I didn't know that.
And then outside...
A clear oversupply.
There's a very clear oversupply, yeah.
So there's lots of abandoned farmhouses.
Yeah. Like, the thing is, like, here, it's legal to buy marijuana at an association.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, I don't know if it's of course, but I know... as a matter of fact, that if you grow it outside, it's lower quality than indoor grown.
Mm-hmm.
So the normal kind, like the species that we usually smoke here is Criti bilbo. So critical Bilbao is the full name of the marijuana. And it usually goes for like 5 euros a gram. Okay. And it's under 3 right now.
Ah, and that's why
And that's an inside plant. It's not even an outside plant. So it'll be even cheaper.
Those must be real cheap, yeah.
So, it's clearly a plantation for more than your own consumption, though. So
yeah.
Hey.
Yep. Drones,
not a good investment.
Drones.
Not a good investment.
But the thing about the drone is, like, aren't they kind of noisy?
They're pretty noisy.
Can't you hear? Yeah, how did they not notice a drone flying ahead?
I mean, some people like to work listening to music.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Maybe they were listening to music or podcasts.
Yeah, they might be listening to our podcast. How ironic. Well, yeah, at the beginning when you said there was an abandoned farmhouse, I was like, oh, maybe it's inside. Yeah, maybe it had electricity. Maybe it would make sense. But then being outside, it's like, well.
Yeah.
I wonder. Not right? The best businessman, I would say, unfortunately.
Maybe, well, they were young, except for that 41-year-old that was hanging out with 20-some-year-olds.
He should have known better. But then again, it might not have been. We don't know the species. It could be been one of those really expensive kind of Californian varieties that fetch 12 euros
Yeah, it
per
didn't say
gram.
anything about them having like a greenhouse. I could see that being more.
But that's if it's a good quality genetics, as we would say, it would produce way better products. So I'm just going baseline. Outside is not a good idea. And in general, the market's not really looking for a lot. So a nod. It is a current story, right? It's
Yeah,
not,
this was. Oh shit! When was that? Oh, it was on the 8th of October.
Because so technically you're supposed to plant your plants within the association. So these associations usually are in a lonja, which are the places that are kind of
like commercial space, but
exactly at the bottom of a building. You usually have the commercial space, and so they're usually big enough that you can have indoor plants. But even so, the market isn't very controlled, so people buy from outside as well. So these people can easily sell to associations. I mean, it can't get caught, but that's the only risk. But then again, even Amsterdam, they're not either allowed to buy plants in Amsterdam. So the buying process for the associations is always illegal. So we have that in common.
Gotcha.
But anyway, here at least we're allowed to grow them inside, especially with associations. It wouldn't be a problem to have 90 plants in an association as long as you have a big number
clientele
to smoke it.
That fits
And of course, I'm part of an association, which is why I know some of those things.
Wow, look at you.
I mean, I partake in smoking Maria.
Same.
As I'm sure you know.
Come on, it's not a crime anymore. People need to get with it. It's not a crime.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
It was a good story.
Well, thanks.
And my one now?
Yeah.
We're going for me.
Let's hear it. What you got?
So my story is about a young man. They call him an adolescent, but he's 19. Whose surnames are Orozco Jimenez. And Orozco is a village just south of here. It's one of the last villages in Vizcaya. If you just go south, just before Álava.
Oh, Orozco. There's a crime in Orozco.
There was.
Yeah. That's going to be an episode someday.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't fun, but...
Oh, no.
They never are.
No. It'll be
But I was like, why does that sound familiar? Oh, yes. I've been researching that.
It's quite a common name. I think there's a couple of streets, at least this one street with Orozco in Bilbao, right?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
It just seems very familiar. And the story comes from Managua, Nicaragua, Central America. And unfortunately, the young man was mining in an illegal mine, in an informal mine.
Oh.
And he went down into the mine at 10 a.m. and started feeling a little bit dizzy. He came out, had a breather, and then he went back in half an hour later and never came back. And his friends went in to get him. He had...
friends or coworkers?
Coworkers, yeah. They found him on the floor, kind of unconscious, and unfortunately, when they managed to get him to the hospital, he'd already passed away.
Oh.
And they concluded it was CO2 poisoning.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like a gas.
From a mine, yeah. No canaries.
No.
I mean, I don't know what clearly the crime here is health and safety.
Yeah.
I mean, a minimum of health and safety is necessary for a ton
you'd
of
think
things.
they'd have like detectors because you can get pretty basic equipment.
Yeah, I mean, the famous old canary. I mean,
or a bird.
Any bird, yeah, would work, right? I suppose.
Poor bird.
Little bird.
Don't put the bird through that.
I know, but what I mean
is there are two. There's equipment now.
It can be a nice
that you can read a meter and it says you've got a too high level of
But how much money do they have in Nicaragua to spend on health and safety?
I feel like people buy these for their houses and they're not that expensive.
True. Like I have a CO2 meter, but
see?
It was like 120 euros.
For a mining company? That's nothing.
It's not a company. It's informal. It's just people going underground.
What were they mining?
They didn't mention actually. I guess if we look at what they generally get in the area, we can find that out. Do you want me to?
So was it like a group of friends, or was he working for a company? Do you know anything like that?
That's the only news, is that it was just a health and safety piece of story. I mean, I just assumed it was a situation very similar to what happens in the Congo, where lots of rare earths are mined, and it's completely informal, as they would put it. It's just people that are told what we're looking for, and they learn how to look for it. But it's pretty rogue and sort of haphazard.
Yeah.
And the way they describe these two other co-workers of his, they're just other young kids.
Yeah.
Typically gold and silver.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
Gold and silver. Here, that's easy to identify.
Mm-hmm.
Does that ring bells?
No, only because in the Americas, that's what they were, I think back to history.
It's a typical thing.
They went and got all the gold out of Central South America.
Or
the Americas.
That's a story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a big crime.
Brought it back to the crown.
All those churches covered in gold and silver.
Yeah.
That's definitely a thing.
Yeah. Wow, that's too bad.
As you can see, I mean, actually, there's an interesting historical aspect, which I think we're probably going to come across quite a few times, which is actually Basque people were extremely valuable in the beginning of colonization of the Americas, because they were already mining here in the Basque Country. And so they were experts in that field of mining. So they were always generally chosen to lead those efforts, to organize the mining, to, clearly this guy unlearned his health and safety traditions, because
Well, isn't it like odorless? It's hard to know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But,
people die in their houses all the time of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a leak, and they just die overnight sleeping.
I'm amazed at how much CO2 one person can create in one room,
Is that why you have a meter, to see how much you're producing?
I got it because I've been smoking inside the house, and I was curious how bad it got inside the house. I do open the windows sometimes, but not, it wasn't automatic or constant. After I've got the meter, I've realized how bad it is. I mean, the CO2 doesn't get so bad, but just seeing the CO2, how bad it gets, how fast. Like within 3 hours, it'll go, like the normal base is like 380, I guess, is the normal sort of in town parts of CO2 per whatever they count. And then the worst I've gotten, like when two friends of mine came to visit, it was Zach and his girlfriend. Us three, because it was a cold night, so we closed the windows, and us three, it got to 1,200 with 3 people overnight. Immediately in the morning, we opened it. But anything over 800, it's like, it's bad. So I was quite surprised when it got to 1,200 or 300. It's like 1,000 over. It's like 4 times the concentration than normal.
So where did it come from in this mine?
That's the thing. I mean, I know CO2 poisoning is a thing, but I don't know if it's just randomly in
maybe
the
I'm thinking
earth.
of something else.
I suppose there's just CO2 in Earth,
up.
Oh, I guess, like, because also if it's related to gas, right?
Yeah.
Like then there are gas deposits.
Like, so that's what I was thinking. It was like
shale mining. But like, would you count that gas as CO2 poisoning?
That's what they called it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that's what it is. I'm sorry,
we're not an expert. We're clearly not experts.
No.
Well, Douglas sounds like a better expert than I am. Just from what people release,
reading stories
regularly. That's the CO2 you're counting.
I'm counting that.
Excel on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I imagine this counter is going to count carbon monoxide as well.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking. Carbon monoxide. That sounds more appropriate. What I'm thinking of.
That's what the car does, right? When a car burns fuel, you die from more carbon monoxide. I think. I remember reading that at some point. Our listeners will correct.
Yeah, they're gonna come at us.
I mean, it was a nice exploration of the history of the Basque Country and mining. It's a very ugly history, but it's
Oh, yes,
clearly,
mining always is, isn't it?
but it still has, clear, the guy not only is
Regardless, yes, he
his
died
surname,
in a mine.
yeah, his surname is Basque,
What was his surname?
Orozco,
Oh yeah, Orozco.
and he's still, his family probably never stopped mining.
Yes, he comes from a long line of miners.
And well, that was that
Perhaps.
story. Yes, our
You
feeling.
can build a whole backstory for him and
Yes.
his family.
I mean, it's a bit of a guess. Maybe half the country is Basque surnames, and we're just taking.
And half the country are ex-miners or of miners.
I'm not sure. I mean, Nicaragua is not known for a lot of gold, or
I don't know.
maybe it just
Back in the day, maybe.
Maybe it's just not text.
Who
knows? Well, our feelings go out to his family.
This is not about Nicaragua, the podcast, so. And even if it were.
I mean, it's about the consequences of Basque people all around the world as well. And clearly, that was not the best of consequences. But hey, yeah. May he rest in peace.
Good. Way to... Yeah, exactly. Poor guy.
So you have a story?
Yeah,
first
this
now?
one, this was the biggest story, I think, from this month. So I'm going to try to find, because I have a lot of information on it, but I'm going to try to summarize it.
Okay.
Well, basically, a woman went into Basurto Hospital.
Basurto, yeah.
Which is here in Bilbao. I think it was about the 19th of October. She went in dressed as a worker there, like in white scrubs. So,
impersonating a worker.
Impersonating someone that worked there, yeah. And went into a room where a couple had just had a baby.
Okay.
And told the mother that they had to do some tests on the baby and kidnapped the baby.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they, of course, everything went, alarms went off very shortly after.
Good.
Like maybe another nurse came in and the woman, the mother said, "Oh, I thought you just took the baby for a test." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" So she, took the baby and then it was that was at night. It happened at night. I think it was about 11. Oh, it was 11 o'clock at night. They had like a CCTV cameras caught her. Yeah.
Good.
So they were looking for her, asking everybody to keep an eye out for someone who looks like this or come to, report to the police. And this is how they describe her: 1.6 meters tall with an obese body.
Complexion.
Complexion is how they put it. But complexion in English is your skin, not your body type.
I guess, yeah. Sorry. Obese.
Long curly hair tied up in a bun. So that's how they described her.
Okay.
And it also said that so the following morning, like 8 o'clock in the morning, somebody in Santucci opened their door to their apartment door, and there was the baby laying on their welcome mat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In Santucci.
Fine. Yeah.
Which is just
fine.
Greater Bilbao, just in the north.
Yeah. So the woman apparently dropped it, knew she was going to get caught or whatever, and just put the baby on someone's doorstep, basically.
Okay. I'm getting mixed up. Santucci is just downtown.
Yeah,
I always mix it up. Far. I mix it up with Santurci. That's why.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I used to confuse those two. So then they were still looking for her because the baby appeared, but not her.
What a horrible night for the parents.
I know.
I'm glad they.
I know.
Figured out the child by the morning. Okay, that's something. I heard something about a baby. I'd never heard all those details. That's a horrible story.
Yeah. And so eventually they did arrest her. They figured out who she was. I'm trying to find the article that I had. I have a lot of them here.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because you post them.
She was a 24-year-old girl. She was arrested on Thursday, so that must have been I don't know.
Some days
A
later.
few days later, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So she was arrested. She was located in the company of a friend at about 10:45 a.m.
Hmm.
They were in Asoka Square in the Sorosa neighborhood. Sorosa.
Okay, yeah, that's north of the city of Bilbao.
Yeah. So they found her. They went to search her house. They found baby stuff at her house, like a high chair and a stroller.
Okay.
So as if she was expecting a baby. And
Hmm.
also that according to her neighbors and her partner,
Hmm.
she had been saying she was pregnant.
Oh. Wow. So it seems like some kind of psychological
Well,
issue.
yes, or maybe she miscarried and didn't want to admit she wanted to produce a baby. I've heard of stories like this, like
Yeah.
all the true crime I've read, there have been several stories like this, and some worse than others, you know, like murder and
For sure.
so yeah. So it's not surprising that somebody was faking a pregnancy, and I mean it is surprising. It's obviously troubling.
I mean, it's not the first time I've heard of that either.
Yeah. So apparently that's what was happening. So she was desperate to find a baby.
Just kind of young though, right? 26?
Yeah, 24.
24, wow.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder.
And now she's been released on like provisional release. So
wow.
Awaiting her trial or whatever is going to happen.
That's intense. I mean.
Yeah, so that was the big story in the last few days.
Wow. So that was this week as well. Yeah, it was.
It was like not this week, but the last week. So it says here, there was another thing, 2 similar cases a decade ago, 2014, 2012, in the Osakidecha hospital network. So Osakidecha is the
Basque health system.
Yeah. The first kidnapping took place a decade ago at the Donostia hospital. A woman with psychiatric problems took a baby while her parents were sleeping. The parents of the baby, I'm assuming. The little boy was found a few hours later in perfect health.
Good to hear.
The one who took her was went and got a taxi, and it was the taxi driver who notified the police.
Right.
And then another woman in 2014, dressed as a health worker, attempted a similar abduction at the same hospital. In this case, a nursing assistant realized that she was not a worker.
Wow.
So took the
lucky.
child from her.
Nice. Good job, nurse. I'm glad all the babies are safe in those stories.
Yeah.
That's the most important
And the
thing.
mothers, because I've heard terrible stories with a mother.
I mean, that mother, this week's episode, she would have had a terrible first night. That's a good story, though.
Yeah.
For someone to tell you, guess what? Your first night, you were kidnapped.
Yeah, I know, right? That's your history. They like keep it from you until you're like older to understand.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Imagine being told that.
2 years old, it doesn't make
What,
sense.
Mother? That explains so much.
As if.
I should have been in therapy from day one.
Hilarious. Do you have many memories as a very small child? I have barely.
No, but
any.
I feel like, I mean, I've heard that those things affect you as a child. You like, even though you don't like remember them exactly, they still imprint something on you. These experiences of being away from
I know, like
your mother and
in the first hours, it's quite.
And with somebody who's like agitated, obviously, because they just kidnapped you and they're freaked out, as you know. So like, it's a very strange first bonding experience with somebody, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
and then being left on a doorstep.
They were in a room before with the mother, so it was a little bit initial bonding, but yeah.
Right, and then to immediately have that go away.
Whole night without, that's pretty random. But I mean, the babies are taken away.
To get
generally,
or put in an incubator.
So,
but I feel like they say that kind of imprints on you too, like if you were kept in an incubator for the first few months or something.
For sure, because you barely any human
isolated,
contact. That sounds very difficult on any child. But in my case, I remember very little before I'm 7. In my case.
Oh, me too. Me too. Nothing.
So they could have,
Excuse me.
My mom actually, she was always very irritated with the United States, and why not, right? The whole planet is. But
What?
I mean, for
Just
different
kidding.
political reasons or whatever. But in her case, it turns out, like when I was an adolescent, she was like, yeah, like when you're a baby, like they were like opening your nappies and checking if you didn't have drugs inside. And I was all like,
Oh, going into the States.
yeah, because
Mm,
so
yeah.
I was a baby, and then I was born in Latin
It's
America.
a classic drug trafficking
Yeah, my mom
scheme.
went to visit Scotland, her parents, and then so obviously the flight would be coming back through United States somehow, probably LA, because mom would probably have stayed with her aunt and an uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah,
You
and
got searched by customs as a baby.
yeah, and she felt very mistreated. And then I remember in the same trip, she took me out on a walk. That's a no-no.
What?
Yeah, the police stopped her because they were like, it's LA. You gotta be in a car. They put her in a car and took her back to my uncle and aunt's place.
What?
Yeah. They were like, you don't walk here.
What?
My mom's like,
far-fetched.
I'm European.
I mean, I guess if she
walk."
was on the road, that would be dangerous because there's no sidewalks. Because I can see that there's probably no
Yeah.
sidewalks in a
Yeah.
lot of places, so you can't really be walking in the street.
Mhm. Yeah,
'Cause
it's a thing.
that is where the cars go.
I've heard of many stories of Europeans walking and the American police just going, no, you're not allowed to walk here. I know
Really?
it's not a total rule in LA because my other friend Inigo, Inigo, he was working there for some months and he was walking everywhere, like through all the neighborhoods you're not supposed to. But he'd like walk from the sea for like 4 hours into downtown. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a nice walk. He's like, it wasn't.
You're just a long one. Yeah, like a very busy roadway the whole time.
He probably took the same amount of time as a driver, but
Probably.
LA for you.
Yeah.
There you go. Baby
Yeah.
stories.
Well, there you go. I didn't know that. That's something I've learned about you today. That you had customs going through your diapers.
Yeah. And I couldn't go for a walk without a car. I mean, a bit of a contradiction, but that's
Ma'am, we're gonna need you to go to a park or something.
Yeah. In a car.
Yeah. Get there by car, please.
But yeah, not part of my memories, but it's part of my history.
Yeah.
No kidnappings as far as I know.
Same. I haven't been told anything yet. I think they would have told me by now.
I mean, maybe they're asking you to ask or waiting for you to ask.
Should I ask the next time I talk to my
That'd
mom?
be fine. Mom, have I ever
Mom,
been
have I been kidnapped? Yes or no?
It'd be hilarious if
She'll
she
be
goes,
like, well, one time.
was that you or was that your sister? No,
Yeah.
no.
Well, we lost you for a few hours.
Somebody brought you back though.
You were fine. It was the 80s.
Yeah, it was so I would be talking about 1981 when these two things happened.
Yeah. Huh.
If we think about those around about there. Because my sister was born in 82, so she wasn't there yet.
Mm.
So it would have been she would not have gone out walking with two children.
Mm.
She would need a car for that.
She would be in the road, basically. I mean, I can see the cops stopping her if she was in the road.
You're defending American cops
Because
way
I know that
too
there's
much.
no. I'm not defending the cops. I'm defending the fact that there's probably no sidewalks because nobody walks,
Yeah.
or you're walking on private property.
Yeah.
So that was probably what the cops' issue was. Either they were in the road or they were on private property.
Well,
Like
actually,
people's lawns or something.
I didn't think we'd get to this point of the story, but we've circled back to the Basque Country.
Oh, how did we do that?
Because my uncle and aunt, the latest place I know they've been living in, I don't know if it's where they lived then, but they live in Thousand Oaks. Well, my uncle still lives there.
Familiar with that.
And Thousand Oaks is still well known as originally being a Basque herders region in
Oh, really?
north of LA in the mountains, yeah.
Hmm.
And even when I visited there last, my uncle was reminding me of that. So it's still well-known fact around there. Of course, it's been filled with people now, but historically,
Full of shopping malls and
exactly
strip malls and
suburbs.
fast food joints and maybe a
Mhm.
farmer's market. I don't know how affluent it is.
It's
Is
pretty
it pretty
affluent.
affluent? Oh, then there's a
Pretty affluent.
farmer's market.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Short drives to some gorgeous beaches.
Mm.
That was good
Private.
memories.
No, actually, on the West Coast, it's not so privatized. Like on the East Coast, even though they're not allowed to,
Mm-hmm.
the residents along the coast are making the coastline private,
Yeah,
and non-residents aren't allowed to go there, and people go out and harass people that try to just go to the beach for the day.
I've
I
read
think
that.
that's just outrageous.
Yeah, I've read about that.
Like, what?
But
This is public land.
even in California, I've read about that happening in front
I
of
can
those.
see it like in Malibu.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like the really, really affluent places. Yeah.
I remember reading some story, and there was this
Santa Barbara. Places
let's
like
say
that.
crazy woman.
Karen. Some Karen.
Perfect term. I shouldn't use it as my mom's called Karen.
Oh, is she? It's unfortunate for nice Karens
It's
out
very
there.
unfortunate. But so this Karen was putting up some signs all over the place saying like there's like dangerous sharks in the water to get
deter
people
people, yeah.
not to go in the water or go to the beach. She was like, yeah. But then of course the surfers knew better. For one, there's sharks everywhere, so it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I remember that story, and they were talking how a number of beaches had in practice become sort of inaccessible.
Let's just harass people so they'll leave. Yeah.
Mm. And I don't know if it was.
Who are you? Where's your ID? Do you live here? What are you doing here?
Yeah.
What reason do you have to be here? And people are like, well, I just came to the beach.
We need to know our rights.
But who are you?
It's Karen. But the only time that my friends took me to the beach there, it seemed like it was next to like a nature reserve because there was some nice mountains around. There was no houses. And we just drove to this lovely beach. Lovely sunsets. Good memories. Good memories.
I mean, there's a lot of them along the California coast, so it could be anywhere.
Beautiful. Big
Sur, maybe? I don't know. If it was a famous one. I don't know.
If you look at Thousand Oaks on a map and go west, that's pretty much where we went.
To the west is the beach.
Is the beach. You'll hit a beach. That's more or less where it was.
Yeah.
Good memories. Good memories.
Nice.
My turn for a story now.
Why don't we take a break and then more?
We're doing it. We're doing it.
Okie dokie.
See you soon.
Okay. All right.
And we're back.
Yeah.
So the next story is downtown from this week. I had not heard about this.
Me neither.
But you pointed it out. No, was it? Oh, it was Megan. No?
Yeah.
Thank you, Megan. And this was a 21-year-old who was in Parque Dueña Casilda. And he tried to steal something from a group of 5 guys in the park, same park. And they caught him trying to steal and just beat him up really bad. And reading this article, we understand that there was another group of people, and one of the people in this other group phoned the police, quite worried about how badly the 21-year-old was getting beat up. And he's fine. He's in hospital now.
Oh, that doesn't sound fine.
I mean, in terms of he's not in.
He was hospitalized though.
Yeah, he does. He had to be kept there overnight, and it looks like he might. I don't know if he's going to stay there for more than one night, but that's what. So the municipal police was called. They came in and.
Was it the Argentia or was it the?
It says municipal police. Yeah. Oh, and
city police.
Ursansa.
Okay, everybody.
Everybody turned up. I mean, which sounds like Bilbao, right? Anytime anything happens, there's like 5 cars, lights.
Yeah, start taping up the scene.
It's a commotion. I mean, you sort of feel safe, but as another podcast I was listening to this week said, they turn up afterwards. They're not really protecting us. In this case, it's kind of the same. They didn't stop anything specifically, but they turned up.
Well, they didn't stop it?
I mean, I guess
somebody. It was what was it? 2 cuadrillas, right? they said? Cuadrillas. You want to explain what that is?
Cuadrilla, very, very Basque concept. So a cuadrilla is your group of friends. And usually you have one or two cuadrillas. You might have one from work, one from school, or
One from the whole life, right?
yeah,
That would be your school days.
Usually your school days will be your permanent cuadrilla.
Lifetime cuadrilla. Yeah.
And it's actually quite a fixed group of people. Like it doesn't really change once,
Unless they get like girlfriends or boyfriends and bring those in.
they're all allowed in, but then when they separate, they're kicked out, your group,
Oh yeah, you're out.
yeah, your group of friends is your group of friends, and you're accepted as a boyfriend or girlfriend, but if you split
And
up,
the boyfriend girlfriend usually have their own, so they don't really care.
exactly. It's a very strict thing in the sense that there's there's quite a number of cases I've heard. It sounds so grave when I say cases, but there's a number of people that I've heard that were right at that age you're supposed to make your cuadrilla, had a boyfriend, so they were part of their boyfriend's cuadrilla, but then they broke up a couple of years later. No cuadrilla.
No friends.
Lifelong no cuadrilla. It's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah.
And
I
actually,
mean, I remember when I moved here, I couldn't make any friends because they all had quadrillas.
yeah, it's quite a closed group. People will talk to you, but they're not trying to be friends.
Yeah, they're not. You're not going to get invited to all their stuff. Like, oh, but you're not in the group, so we can't invite you.
Yeah, a lot of times in bars, you'll be chatting to somebody, and then they'll go, "Excuse me, I'm with my quadrilla," and just turn around, and you're like, "Okay, I guess we tried."
And now you're like, "Oh, I understand."
Oh yeah, now I understand entirely. It was quite a
in the
weird
beginning,
one.
it's like, wow, how rude.
I still get irritated if I'm in a gay bar and the other guy is gay, and I'm like, well, if you're just here with friends, why even bother coming to a gay bar, right? Just hang out at home. I don't know. Don't give me false hopes. Well, I mean, the cuadrilla thing is pretty intense, but it's also a lovely system. Like they will accept you however you are. It's kind of like a second family. You can have terrible people in your quadrilla.
You may not even get along with everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, like that's what I found too, just by being a teacher and talking to students.
Exactly. Like, you hear the stories.
They're like, well, we don't really get along with this person or that, but they're in the cuadrilla, so
they have a group of friends forever,
membership for life.
Which is good. I think a lot of societies, a lot of those people would not have a close-knit group of friends, and that's a good sort of social structure to have.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, I have, like you, I had a way in through a partner. So I was immediately part of his group of friends, but then again, we're gay. So gay people have to make new quadrillas usually.
I see.
Understandably, because either they don't want to come out of the closet so early, or simply, for practical reasons, we're going to different clubs. So it naturally happens that we form new quadrillas. They're not as fixed as the traditional quadrillas, as you will understand. But then I've got another in with the Basque. Since I speak Basque, it's much easier to make friendships and get to know people. I'm not invited into any quadrillas, but you get invited to things quadrillas do. So it's like me and my friends are having lunch. You're welcome to come up.
Yeah.
So that happens more since I speak Basque. Not that I take them up, but it's sweet. It's sweet. I feel welcome.
And the way that a quadrilla enters into this story?
Well, they were all protecting each other, clearly.
Right. So it was the person that was coming in to rob them. That quadrilla beat the shit out of him. And then another quadrilla that was nearby called the police.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And clearly it was...
And they were identified as quadrillas, right? In the news story.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Because it's like everyone understands what that means. I love that.
And it was, as you were...
It's just part of the vernacular,
Yeah.
And everyone understands what that means.
It is, the quadrilla. And as you were pointing out, it was a pretty bad beating up, because not only was the guy taken to hospital, but 2 of the 5 were taken into custody.
Mm.
So they're still looking for the other 3.
Oh, 3 of them took off. Oh no, they
Yeah.
split up the cuadrilla. So 2
Mm.
were just happened to be right. They were the ones that the cops could grab, and the
They
other
didn't-
3
yeah.
took off.
They didn't describe the exact way they had 2 and not 5, but
That's probably what happened.
but we can tell it was pretty big overreaction, let's say.
Yeah.
I mean, initially I was happy he got beaten up, but you don't need to get sent to hospital.
No.
Clearly.
And you don't need to get beaten up. You just kind of need to be like, get the hell out of here.
I mean,
Without
the thing is,
extreme violence.
no, of course, right? Violence. I mean, I wouldn't do that either. I mean, I'm not gonna punch anybody. It's not a thing I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't do that. But it's also understandable because I think there's more, and I think it's something happening in Europe more and more everywhere, which people are getting more and more irritated with minor crimes not being dealt with because they're not dealt with. It's just not really considered a crime.
Yeah.
And people are just hanging out and their mobiles are getting stolen. So, it's coming from a social frustration. Of course, it's too much, right? But we were talking about then what is justifiable and what's not justifiable, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to defend yourself, and actually,
so if you're attacked, then you should be able to defend yourself. But
because there's a line in your insurance when you get insurance, there's a line that says if you don't fight back to get your mobile, you just let it be taken, and you're not covered. So there's a line, and it says you have to try and get your mobile back with reasonable force.
Oh, that's true. Like, it has to have been done with violence.
Yeah.
It had to have been taken from you with violence in order for it to be covered.
If they
by
just
your
slip
insurance
it out your pocket
without you knowing,
and you don't do anything, that's not covered by our insurance. So
I know, that's weird.
We're obliged to do something.
Yeah, that is weird.
So
there's a contradiction there, right?
I mean, what is the like the guy? If the guy is nice to me, he's not.
Like the contradiction is like legally you shouldn't do any violence, right?
I don't know if we're not supposed to do any.
I wouldn't think that they would say, if your phone gets stolen, attack.
No.
So,
but it feels
I think
like
legally you're kind of involved in a assault. If you are a part of a physical altercation with somebody, right?
But let's say
you're of 2 parties. There's 2 parties having a physical altercation. So those 2, that in itself is illegal, right? But then an insurance company will be like, only if you are involved in a physical altercation with somebody will we cover the loss of your phone.
I mean, they don't say physical altercation.
Well, I'm sure I'm just using the words like.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I'm not a lawyer, and it would be an interesting conversation.
I am a lawyer. No.
I'd be curious to know what is expected, and because clearly, I was going to say, let's start with something easy like a push, right? That's clearly I'm trying him not to get my phone. That's a clear message.
I have pushed people.
Me too. I mean, a drunk push is not a great push, but
kicked somebody.
Look at you.
Well, because I could tell he was going into my bag behind me.
That's a mini crime time.
And he was right behind me, and I kicked him.
Okay, and did it work?
Yeah, and
Nice.
I turned around and I kicked him, and I turned around and I started yelling at him.
Yelling also works.
Yeah,
indeed. Well, you would have been covered by your insurance, I think.
Yeah, do you think so?
I would have said so. I mean, kicking is pretty clearly fighting back for your phone.
But he didn't kick me. Like my partner Bobby, he had his phone stolen once, and they did actually throw him to the ground, him and his friend to the ground, grab their phones,
right,
and
part of the distraction.
And because they had been thrown to the ground and kind of, it was taken with violence.
Yeah, they were clearly covered.
Yeah,
right.
Actually, his friend, when they picked up his friend's phone because it was like an old model, they were like, "This is a mierda,"
and they just gave it back.
Yeah.
Hilarious. See, that's the kind of thing that we're.
So then it was covered.
Exactly.
But a pickpocket would never be covered.
So you're expected to do something to the pickpocket, like kick him.
I guess.
But I was starting.
Well, he didn't get anything from me.
That's the
I
thing.
caught him
Like,
going into my purse.
you're saying like a kick shouldn't be legal, right?
Right, like I shouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah, but
Like he could probably press charges against me for the kick.
let's
You know what
say
I mean?
yes. It sounds correct to me. But then, if he's not violent towards you, what does the law say? Just let them take the mobile. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the consequence.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Which, I mean, if the worst thing is not only that,
Because
like,
you'd think the law would be like, don't do anything.
yeah,
It's only a phone.
but then I just lose the mobile
Don't escalate.
every time, right?
Exactly,
Because the insurance never gonna.
Because you're never
cover
going to
me.
get, yeah, exactly.
So
And the cops are never going to get it back.
not
You
a
can
mobile.
go file a report, but
No.
what's going to happen?
So that's what's irritating. That's why they end up, I think, going overboard and beating this guy up way too much.
No, yeah, for sure. They went overboard. If they
But
really pulverize. He's in the hospital.
he's in the hospital, yeah.
That's too much.
And, it was enough to get all of them sent to jail for at least overnight until they're
Yeah,
catch the other
they'll
three.
be charged with like assault or whatever.
Pretty dodgy.
And now their records are tainted. They have criminal records now.
They do, I guess. And I don't know exactly what those consequences
Because they're
are.
they're not minors, right? The
No,
ones that got
they're-
arrested.
Well, they're 19,
Yeah, so
which
they're not minors.
I guess
So
is
they'll have-
considered.
A record now.
Mm.
Poor decision making.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one. well, that was the story about Parque Doña Casilda, which is
Next to the museum.
also
The duck park.
The duck park is how they're known. Parque de los Patos.
There's also some what is it? Pavo Royal.
That's
Peacock.
Peacock, yeah.
There's a couple of peacocks there
Oh.
too.
They're not loose though. They're in the cage around the pond, right?
They're not in a cage.
Are they not?
No, they're walking around,
Oh,
but they're not. Yeah, I guess there's a fence around the area where they are.
okay.
But I'm like, how do they not get out? I don't know. They can't fly? Can they not fly?
They can fly a little bit, but they usually cut their wings so that they can't fly. You just cut the feathers
Pobres.
every so often, and they
And
can't
they just
fly.
have to live at that park.
They usually just fly up into a tree to sleep. That's the only reason they fly,
Oh,
to get into a tree to sleep.
but they can't go up to the tree to sleep.
But they will have a little thing to perch on in their little house, I would assume, because it's like a chicken. They won't really be happy unless they've got a place to coop on, to like hold on to a little branch. So if you're nice to your chickens, they should have that.
Noted.
And if you have peacocks, please also.
Give them a spot to sleep.
There's quite a lot of peacocks in Brazil, so quite common things. They're so noisy though.
Peacocks.
Yeah,
I don't know what they sound like.
they go "Wow, wow," in a different tone, but they're very loud. They're
was
very
good.
loud. I think that's kind of where the pea comes from. The peacock. It goes pea, kind of pea, something like that.
Oh man, I'm gonna go down to the park and see if I can hear them yelling.
I think that's.
And I'm
what
gonna
we're-
search. I'm gonna see if they have a perching spot. Now I have a.
Yeah, their well-being.
Yeah, I have a plan now. Next time I go to that park.
Sounds fun. It's a beautiful park. We recommend
is really
everybody
pretty.
visits.
Mhm.
It's a gorgeous sort of 1909-ish was when it was.
Oh, I did not know that. Look at you, facts.
Yeah, the asylum. I think I used to be. People said to me it was an asylum, but I think it's basically empty. That big house in front of the park, just over.
An asylum. You think they would put that there?
I mean, they call it asilo in Castilian, whatever that is. I mean, it could be for anybody.
Okay, like refuge.
But that, so that was the owner of that house is who paid for the park, and then they left the house to the city as well, which is why it became some institution. So they were very nice people.
Okay.
Madame Casilda.
Well, Doña Castillo.
That was nice of her.
Yes, very nice. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
We all thank you.
Beautiful park.
Okay, we ready for the next one?
We're ready. Hold on to your chapelas.
Yes, hold on. This one's a doozy. No, it's not. This one's
Let's
just
see.
silly. So this one was a I believe we talked about this actually a few weeks ago, the three of us,
Mm-hmm.
you and Megan and I, and it was the Archancha is identified and is investigating a 28-year-old man who climbed onto the outside rear of a bus in Pasaya.
Oh yeah, we
Do you remember
mentioned.
this?
Yeah. 20? How many?
28-year-old.
28.
So he was, the way that it's worded, 28-year-old man was traveling perched on the bodywork of a bus.
I mean, it is.
This is a translation.
It's a direct translation
Yeah.
from Google.
So I can't remember what the real word was that they used, but it was circulating through town. And of course, it was causing a serious risk to his life and the life of other road users.
True. More to
So-
his, but still.
Yeah. Well,
No.
yeah. And he could have fallen off and someone's swerving not to hit him.
It's definitely
Whatever,
not safe.
may have gotten into another accident. So, yeah. So according to the Archancha, the agents learned from the media and social networks that a young man had climbed onto the back of the bus that was running along the old NI, the National Interstate.
Mm-hmm.
That's what those are. At the exit of Pasay Ancho in the direction of Capuchino's neighborhood of Errentiera.
Let's see.
Errentiera?
Renteria.
Errenteria.
That's also a surname.
So the video went viral, and because of the video of him riding on the back of the bus, that's how he got caught.
Well, yeah, just don't post your many crimes on social media, people. That's a lesson
That's right.
from that.
That's right. Well, it could have been not that he posted it.
True.
It could have been like people saw him and started filming and then posted on their own.
True.
And then people saw it and said, "Oh, I know. That's so-and-so."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have facial recognition software these days. I assume police have access to that.
Yeah, but for some, well, maybe.
You know, just to try and...
Yeah. So Pasaya is near San Sebastian.
Okay, that side of town.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not it's not our town. It's another town.
I was using it as a loose expression.
I see. Yes, of course. Because, yeah, that is the joke. That San Sebastian is a neighborhood of Bilbao. I've heard
I
Ramon
wasn't
tell
going that
joke.
far, but yeah. You know. Have we mentioned in this podcast that this will probably come up various times that Bilbao, the joke about people in Bilbao think Bilbao is so important in the center of the world that you are asked, do you have the world map of Bilbao? And the world
no,
map.
we did talk about this.
We did.
Yeah.
So that's part of that attitude.
Yeah.
As well.
That like everything around us is just a neighborhood
Neighborhoods.
of Bilbao.
Paris, neighborhood of Bilbao. Berlin, neighborhood of
Neighborhood
Bilbao.
of Bilbao.
Naughty neighborhoods, Moscow.
So that's it. They caught him.
Well,
That's
they
that story.
But, like, do we know what he got?
They identified him through
They
through social media and the media.
So it'll be
So the images of him gone viral got him caught.
hopefully just
I don't know if he was like joyriding. They haven't said anything. Like they're investigating it. So they
mhm.
didn't say whether he was joyriding or he just couldn't afford the bus ticket.
I mean, we know why that's a terrible excuse right now, right?
Oh, true. Yeah.
They've
'Cause
just
it's like
brought
half
down
price.
the prices, yeah. We
Only
can-
till December though.
Is it? Oh,
yeah, it's
no.
going to be quite a shock when I have to
No.
start paying full price.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know
It's
that.
going to be quite a shock, I feel like, because I have to take the metro now every day.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
So
Yeah,
now
I mean,
I'm going to see how much that
Well,
costs.
they usually, if you get that monthly pass, so it's usually better.
I
But-
know. I've been told, of course, that I should look into getting that pass with my photo on the body.
I
But
don't.
who has time for that, Douglas? Nobody has time.
Nobody
for
got
that.
time for that. Nobody got time for that.
It's just another thing to do. I've
Yeah.
got a lot to do.
Who's got time to go into the bus? Just grab it and go.
Just get on the back of the bus or the metro. Just get to work that way.
It'd be fun in metro. Mm.
But the thing about the metro is like both sides have the conductor window,
They do.
right? So you'd be looking at the conductor. Well, if you're riding on the front. If you're
Yes.
riding on the back, there's usually nobody back there.
That'll be my plan.
But I imagine there'd be a camera on you. So
Wait,
you'd be hanging on to the front of the metro with the camera right in your face.
Doesn't line 3 have no drivers?
Oh, I don't know. Is
Because
that true?
it was supposed to be automatic, but I don't know if they did it in the end.
I have no idea.
I've gotten that metro on a few times.
I've
but
been on it too, and it's
never-
where Allie and Melissa live.
Yeah, but I've never like looked
use it a lot.
into the
should
driver's
ask.
box.
We'll look into it, everybody. We'll find out if it actually is automated.
That sounds like a plan.
Okay, homework. We have more homework. Jesus Christ.
It's nice that we discovered what happened with the random
Yeah, the guy on the back of the bus.
small infraction, let's call it. I mean, I hope it's just some money they're going to
Oh,
charge.
I imagine you could come up with all kinds of heavy charges for that. That would get you into like a world of hell, legal hell.
That was an interesting one about the Parque Doña Casilda one. They were the two guys that were in jail. They were charged with beating up the guy and also not providing help to him when he needed help.
Oh, see? Extra charges.
So they definitely, I mean, it's kind of obvious that would happen, I would say, but, 2 charges for one.
Mm-hmm.
It would be random. Big punch. Okay, now you're hurt. Now let's call the ambulance.
Should we call an ambulance, you guys?
Well,
legally, we're supposed to. Can you see like 19-year-olds going, legally, we're supposed to be assisting this guy? We don't want to get in trouble by not assisting this poor man that needs help.
Let's get charged for one thing, not 2
really
guys. Come on.
Yeah, no, they didn't even go that far.
But if there were a cuadrilla to do that, it would be in the Basque Country, though, wouldn't it?
It would.
It would.
But somebody, there would be one voice of reason. It'd be the one that's always like the killjoy in the group. Like, you guys, we shouldn't be doing this. They're like, come on, man, lighten up.
Worktown, yeah.
Well, he's in the hospital.
Let's be nice citizens, people. After we beat somebody up, call an ambulance.
That's the lesson from today.
There was some good crimes,
I think.
I
If you're
think.
going to beat people up, at least be part of their assistance. Yeah.
Big selection now all over the world.
Yeah, I have one more.
You do? Oh,
but
nice.
Maybe we should break.
True. I have one more, so.
Oh, we both have one more. Okay, so let's break.
Boom, boom, boom. See you in a minute.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we're back.
We're back.
So now my story.
This is not recent, right?
This is not as a historical one. 1996 was the first story I found, and then the backup was 1994. Quite an interesting story to kind of come upon. So at first we get the beginning. The way we found this story was quite fun because I was looking for Orozco and I checked where Orozco was, which is one of our previous surnames.
Mm-hmm.
And then
a town.
It's and a town. So I was checking where the town was because I know it's, I should be doing more from my Basque geography.
Well, we went on a hike to Ibarra last Saturday and went past Orozco. And because I had been researching this story, I was like, oh, there's Orozco.
Cool.
So we were near there. Anyway,
and then I just looking at the map, the next city north was Bengoechea, which I know as a surname as well.
Okay.
So I wrote crimes Bengoechea.
Oh, good. Good research method. Good.
I guess I can come out of the woodworks and also say it was a person I didn't like, the Mr. Bengoechea that I last knew, an ex-flatmate. So
you actually knew somebody with that surname.
I'm excited to talk about crimes of this family. I'm joking. So the first news that I came across was him being released from Germany.
Not their old flatmate.
Not him.
This is somebody else.
No. He was just hard to get money for bills. That's the biggest crime he committed.
Okay. That is a crime.
It's a mini
crime. Pay your bills, people. Pay your bills.
It's a mini crime.
Don't expect someone to pay your way.
No. It just makes Douglas angry.
That's the rule.
So Javier Bengoechea was condemned to 3 years in Munich.
Oh.
With 2 of his associates, Julio Oroz, another Basque man, and a Colombian, Justiniano Torres. They were all condemned to 3 years in jail in Germany for they were smuggling
convicted for.
Convicted. Sorry, I don't know the difference. What did I say?
So, well, you were saying supposedly, but
Sorry.
at this point, they've been
It's been-
convicted and sent to prison.
Well, you'll understand the supposedly soon.
Sorry.
There's
sorry.
a twist.
Don't mean
There's
to
a
jump
twist.
ahead. Yes,
No,
sorry.
it's fun. It's interesting.
Okay.
So they were smuggling out 363 grams of plutonium out of Moscow, Russia.
Oh dear.
This is about 1994. We're talking.
Okay.
And so we came across this guy being released from jail. And it was weird just because
After serving his 3 years,
you apparently, as it worked in
he
Germany.
got out 2 years for good behavior.
Well, in the article itself, it actually specifies that the law in Germany specifies that if you are not a German national, after half of your term, they're allowed to kick you back to your country,
Oh, okay.
which I think is very fair.
Very fair.
How-
Go home.
However,
Go cause problems somewhere else.
So we looked up into what plutonium did and how it's used, and at least my first inkling was kind of like, why would they want this, right? Surely it's to make some kind of bomb.
Yeah.
And then we started looking into it, and it's like it just produces a bit of heat, and it's usually used for satellites.
Oh,
That's the main use of plutonium these days, I guess.
okay.
And so apparently this was a setup by the German spy agency.
What?
It turns out, I mean, just come out with the end of the story first, and then we can talk about a couple more details. But
Okay.
so it turned out that the German state was trying to prove that there was a black market for plutonium when actually it was just them setting up. They found those people who did contraband, the two Basque guys and the Colombian guy, and they were like, oh, with help of the Spanish spy agency, who I guess knew they were contraband people. Smugglers, sorry, that's the word we were looking for. They asked them, indirectly to move this plutonium from Moscow.
So they were like, the agents were asking them, hey, can you guys do this little job for us?
Yeah, it was all
We're
set
all
up.
also,
It was all
we're
set
also
up
smugglers.
by
so entrapment. That's called entrapment,
it
right?
was entirely entrapment.
I think maybe not legally, but
Something like that. I mean,
yeah.
Goodness knows what Germany calls it.
Yeah, because if you're the one, I think it is entrapment when you're the one setting up the crime. If it's the law, the law agency or whatever that's running the crime.
Yeah,
it can be considered entrapment.
Yeah, it's like, I understand that if you're a drug seller and like a policeman buys drug from you,
right? You're the one selling the policeman the drugs,
Yeah.
right? But if it's the policeman that's going, hey, I've got these drugs I want to sell.
And the guy was just hanging
like, all right.
out. Yeah, something like, well, they clearly did this naughty thing. Why, right? Why would you want to create the idea that there's a black market of plutonium? Well, this case came out right before an election. So there were great policemen working for the safety of your people, and it turns out there was no safety problem. Like, plutonium is used for satellites and not for dirty bombs. And there's no demand for the market.
So the police were working in favor of some political party?
They wanted to show that the security services were taking care of you.
We're doing the job that they're supposed to do.
Re-elect your people because we're taking care of you.
Okay.
But there was no such market. There was no market for plutonium. Nobody was asking for it.
Well, when we were you told me you were going to tell me a story about plutonium, the only reference I have is from Back to the Future.
What was it? It was a bit of a time traveling story. 1994. Does that count?
84. No, when did Back to the Future come out? I don't know. I can't remember.
No.
84, I think. 84. Let me see.
Somebody's on it. Don't worry. So when they caught these guys and interviewed them, they had no clue what plutonium was. They really didn't know what it was for, and they clearly had just been set up by these two agencies.
85. It was 85.
85. So yeah, I guess it was.
So the height of the Cold War. So plutonium at the time was like for
sounded scary.
Right, for like nuclear bombs, and
Mm-hmm.
it was used in.
But not really, though. That's the thing. Apparently, like certain ones, it depends which one it was. It was plutonium 398 or something. That was for satellites, and then 92 was for helping bombs explode a bit better, something like that. And they don't specify here which kind of plutonium it was, but apparently this one wasn't even. And
there were no Russians involved?
They just sold the merchandise, I guess,
to the Russians,
to the smugglers.
Oh, so the agents sold it to the smugglers to then do what with?
That's the thing. There was no market for it.
Oh,
but since they were caught, obviously.
Oh, so they just were caught with the merchandise that the agents had given them, basically.
Well, I think they'd made them go to Russia. They kind of wrote, right? The security agency said,
"Here's the stuff. Bring it to this place in Russia."
They were pretending to be a client who wanted plutonium, right?
Okay.
But there was nobody who wanted plutonium.
Oh, so they sent them to Russia to get the plutonium and bring it back.
And they landed in Germany. They caught them.
They caught them with
surprise,
plutonium.
Surprise. They didn't know what this was for.
They're like, we're just here to bring it.
They probably thought it was for Back to the Future. Because that's what we all knew plutonium was for.
Exactly. That's the only way I know anything about anything is films.
But we never built that car.
No.
So it was just a setup for an election.
Wow.
Poor Basque guys. See?
Yeah.
They're just some normal smugglers. Well, he served 1.5 years, and that doesn't sound terrible.
And then they sent him home. So now he's like living his best life in, what was the name of the town? Or no, he probably wasn't from that town.
No.
He just has the surname.
Just Mr. Bengoechea Javier.
It doesn't say where he's from?
It didn't. It just said there were two Spanish
Maybe we can get him
citizens.
On the podcast and interview him about his experience.
Maybe. It's definitely cooled down. I think.
If you're out there, give us a ring.
Yeah, I assume
send us an email.
He's retired, so if you hear the podcast, you want to become famous.
You want to talk about the worst day of your life.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe he has some other crime times to tell us.
Yeah, maybe you could write a book about it.
How
he was set up by the German government.
Yeah. Sounds like a crazy story.
Funny.
So that was that one.
Well, funny,
I mean, at least there was nobody wanting to explode a nuclear bomb, right? That's definitely good news.
For sure.
Just some Russians wanting some extra money.
Yeah. And they had some extra plutonium on hand to send over to Europe.
Indeed.
There
you go.
Yeah.
That was that story.
Good. I liked
the
it.
Bengoechea.
Okay, so I'll tell my last story, which I think you'll get a kick out of. And I didn't tell you anything about this. So
I'm excited.
It should be. So in Vitoria-Gasteiz, which was where our last story was based, a judge who has vetoed the name Haisia, to a girl, denied another baby to be called Yargi, which means moon in Euskera.
Yep.
Okay. So alleging that it was, the judge prevented some parents from giving the name Yargi, moon in Basque, to their newborn son, alleging that it was a girl's name, despite the fact that Basque nouns do not usually have a gender.
Yeah.
And that it accepts names as neutrals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the judge imposed the name of John.
No way. That's violation of many rights.
Isn't that crazy?
When is this from?
This was from. Oh no!
Sorry,
that's
this
a bad
is-
question because I did not. Oh, here it is. Boom! I found it. This
10
is
points.
from November 3rd.
My.
No,
this-
no. No. Yeah, November 3rd. November 3rd this year.
That's like yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the
I am
family,
in
of course,
shock.
appealed to the Supreme Court. And we're
Absolutely.
waiting for a resolution to that.
I hope they come on.
So the same
our
judge
side.
has refused to register a newborn with the name Haisea,
Aisea.
which means seed in Basque.
Oh, that's Asia. Okay.
Asia, sorry. Considering it pejorative, and has imposed another phonetically and semantically very similar, Sia, which does not correspond to the one chosen by its parent.
Very odd.
Isn't that weird that a judge would have the right to? Well,
I mean, I
know that there's a history here of
Yeah.
imposing the names of children
mm-hmm.
mostly because of the dictatorship,
Yep.
and imposing anything Basque was illegal.
Yeah.
So, so there's a history of that, but that's crazy that today that would be happening, right?
It is, and especially
because they're non-gendered, right?
yeah,
Like there's no gender to
names and
names.
And
Yeah.
not only that, I can't think of any names right now, but I know there are a couple of names that both girls and boys use. Like,
Which one?
I can't. That's the thing. I can't think of one right now, but I know there are a couple. Like I've heard of. I just remember somebody saying, "Oh, this one's a boy, that one's a girl," and I was like, "Oh, okay, same name, cool."
Okay.
I mean,
well, I can keep reading about this.
I have to burn another of my childhood stories, though. My name's from a list.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I was born in a dictatorship.
Oh, okay.
And
Do tell.
My name was one of the few names that my mom recognized in English, and she was like, "Okay, it's gonna be Douglas."
Oh, she had a list that she had to choose your name from.
Approved names. Yeah, she couldn't. During the
Who
dictatorship.
was the dictator at the time?
I don't actually know. There's plenty in Brazil to choose from, but one of them. The thing is, there was also a list here, so there was just a list that you could choose from. It wasn't like you could choose any name.
Right.
And I know that
that's why everyone is Joseph, Maria, Joseph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at some point, it was obligatory to include Maria in a girl's name as a second name. So, I mean, anyway, it's a restricted system, but like definitely in Latin America, in my own family tree, I have seen some very intense names that they've chosen after you can choose anything. And I know there's a lot of there have been cases of parents wanting to call their child Hitler, and that has been stopped by judges, and I think that's fair.
I have heard that too. Yeah, like things like that, or just something. Yeah. And
distasteful. So I think there is a place.
Like, no, you can't do that to somebody.
Yeah, I think there's a place for a judge to comment on, but
the fact that it's
much though.
Right, like because it's considered a girl's name.
Yeah,
and it's a boy child. Like.
Yeah. If I want to be called Maria, I'll be called Maria.
Yeah.
Like, and even that, there are guys called Maria.
Yeah. Exactly.
You would have thought
Jose Marie. Jose
Maria,
is a very common name.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay, so shall I read the rest of this?
Go on.
Okay.
I mean, I'm already shocked. I think there's no more you can do, but
it must be remembered that nouns and adjectives do not usually have grammatical gender in Basque, as they do in Spanish or French. For this reason, it's common for names such as Aisea, wind, Ibar, plain, sustrai, root, or seru, sky, for example, can be used interchangeably in men and women.
There we go.
Gender distinction is made in some isolated words, although they are different words and not gender variants of a word. For example, in pairs such as cousin, god, goddess, prince, princess. So then they gave all the Basque. Do you want to read those out for cousin?
I need bigger letters.
Letter. Sorry.
I'm a 42, baby.
Okay, so cousin.
We have Lengusu, Lengusinya,
And then we have God, Goddess,
Yainko and Yainkosa,
and Prince, Princess.
Prince, Princesa.
Okay. So then in 2019, the Academy of the Basque Language introduced a neutral names in its Gazetteer for the first time, valid for boys and girls. The list presents 500 epiceni given names. I don't know what that word means. Epiceni?
Epicene.
Epicene?
I'm not sure what that
Given
means either.
names?
Let's see. Must be a first name, maybe?
Perhaps, yeah.
Epicinity.
I'm going to have you read all these Basque names, though, because I'm not even going to try. People are going to be yelling at their...
Oh, epicinity is a lack of gender distinction, often reducing the emphasis on the masculine to allow the feminine.
Okay.
It includes androgyny, having both male and female names.
Okay. So the list presents 500 epiceni given names.
Mm-hmm. That's quite a lot. That's cool.
Here they are. You want to read them?
Yeah, some of them are Alai, Alonia, Amayur, Amets. That's a nice one. It just means dream.
I have a student named Amets, but it's with a set Z instead of a S.
Araitz.
I have a student named Araitz.
Artzain, Getari, Urbil. That's a funny one because it means close. So a close person. That's cute. Iraulza, Isaba, Jaiskibel, Kemen, Loitzun, Sustrai.
Yeah, and also diminutive names.
Such as Agustin, Arichu, Ashun, Bichori, Engrashi, Franchoa, Ignacio, Itzaso, Isabel, Jesus, Josepe, Juancho, Cachalin, Manu, Nacho, Chechu, and Shabi. That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Good list of cute names.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very cute names.
Okay, so then the Euskal, what's the name of this?
Euskaltzaindia, which is it's the equivalent. Like we don't have it in English, but what they have in French is the Académie Française de la Langue, which is the academy responsible for the rules of French language.
Oh, okay. So there's the Spanish one too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a
called in Spanish?
Real Academia de la Lengua Española.
Yeah.
So that's the equivalent. Euskaltzaindia is the Basque equivalent that defines how the rules should be in Basque.
Okay. So they have offered advice to Aisea's family so that they can register her daughter under that name. In this sense, he is assured that he sees no impediment to using the name Hasia.
Mm-hmm. Hasia, like a seed, yeah.
From a linguistic point of view, as occurs with other names derived from a common noun.
Yeah.
And they named these that also come from a common noun. Amets, yeah.
Amets, which is dream. Aisea, which is wind. Lizard, I'm not sure. Naya, Seru, or Suites, which is just tree. I love that one.
Tree.
Hi, tree. How you doing, tree? So cute. Sorry, I'm clearly biased. Cute. I love Basque names.
Tree.
They're so cute.
Okay, so thus through a note, Euskaltzaindia.
You got it.
Has assured that it is offering to write a report and make it available to the family in the next few days so that if they so wish, they can use it to channel the controversy raised around that name.
Very good.
Euskaltzaindia has affirmed that this type of controversy is frequent in civil registries, especially due to questions of the gender associated with the name. In 2018, the Academy of the Basque Language asked the Spanish Ministry of Justice to act with flexibility in gender cases, since most of these issues derive from them.
Absolutely. There is some reasonable advice there. Yeah, I mean, it's
It's just weird to me that it's happening today.
yeah, it's really, yeah, it's not nice because you would have hoped we've moved beyond that. I was gonna mention though, sort of to build up a bit of the context, is also because Basque was prohibited for so many decades.
Mm.
A lot of these parents don't speak Basque, and maybe their grandparents do, like the children's grandparents, but the parents of the children many times don't speak Basque, so they don't necessarily have a close connection to the language, which I'm just justifying the fact that sometimes they might make the wrong choice. But, you know, clearly here, Oscar Sandia has backed up the parents.
What do you mean, like the wrong choice in terms of gender, a gender-specific name?
No. Just I'm maybe they just because just they could choose a word that has different connotations they don't understand. For example, or just, you know, the name of an object that is too crass, you know, that they might not know is an object, you know, they just might think it's a name of a place.
It's a nice name, or it's a nice word,
but actually it might have a kind of shocking or bad meaning. And it's that kind of an interesting one though also, because you have, oh gee, I can't think of the name though right now, but what I meant to say is that even though the name can mean something negative like hate, it's still, I mean, I'm not sure if that's the exact meaning of the name I'm thinking of, but, you know, something negative like that, and yet it's quite a popular name, even though it's a very random
but
name.
it might be a pretty name, it might be a pretty word, right?
Exactly. I mean, you know, they're definitely, it's personal taste if you enjoy Basque names, but I do like them. But that was a lovely story, thank you, and so relevant. Very
lovely no, but you know,
lovely because I know they're gonna win, and that fucking judge should go back to his country.
Damn, Douglas.
I mean,
right in the episode.
Imposing his culture on the Basque people.
Bueno, whatever culture that is. I mean, it sounds like he's like, you know, gender norms and, you know, that kind of crap is just seems strange in India today. I mean,
that's the thing, you know, when your
weird.
language has gender, it's sometimes hard to deal with a different culture that doesn't have it. You don't quite get like, if you don't speak a language that doesn't have gender, it's hard to understand. Understandably.
Yeah. So do you have a mini crime time for today? Because I kind of do.
Okay. Go for it.
This happened actually today. I was coming home on the metro, and when I was leaving to Plaza Unamuno, there's usually like a busker right near the metro.
Did you kick him?
No, I did not commit any crimes, but this is the mini crime that I saw. I was walking and I was listening to another podcast.
Competition.
No, they're not.
I'm joking.
But I was listening to a podcast and I realized I'm listening to him singing, and I can tell that he's singing "Patience" by Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
Right? I recognize the song because I'm a big fan of Guns N' Roses. But then I realized, like, is he actually singing Patience? So I paused my podcast to find out, and sure as shit, the guy was singing like, like making totally nonsense words.
I like that.
And even the word patience he wasn't saying. He was like, patience.
Wow.
So I was like, that's a crime.
That's an English.
You should at least learn the words.
Yeah. I mean, he's earning his life with that. He should definitely.
Yeah, I felt like it was a crime.
Earning his keep. It's definitely a mini crime.
If he is earning his keep, fine. But yeah, to me, it was a crime.
It's audio crime.
Right.
Like language crime.
Like, play the song. If you're going to play the song. I don't know. Am I wrong? What do you think? Am I wrong? It was really funny to me, you know, to hear somebody going, and I was wondering how many other people around me knew that he was making any sense. I looked around like, does anybody else realize that this guy's not actually saying anything and just making sounds?
I mean, I always find it odd when people are doing that.
Have you seen it a lot?
I have seen it a number of times.
I feel like, yeah, I've heard somebody doing it with like Bob Dylan or something
It's just like
in the street.
a lot of times it'll be, most of the time I think that I've heard that happen. It's like somebody goes, oh, you know that song, and kind of goes, rah, rah, rah,
Sure,
and then they don't
but
know.
somebody performing it, like that's
Yeah.
what's weird to me. It's like somebody that like likes the song, has learned the chords to play the guitar and everything.
So they managed,
to it.
they were actually playing it. Okay.
Yeah, he was playing it on the guitar, but he just never learned the lyrics.
One skill out of two. That's not too bad.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my
Because, you know,
for
some
today.
people put the background thing and then sing, and then they don't do the music. So you're allowed to do one out of two. But so he should
It'd
have.
be like going to karaoke, right?
He just needs the lone voice and shut up and just play the guitar. No, that's what you want him to do.
I felt like going and taking over.
Oh,
I
look
felt
at
like
that.
you play the music and I'll sing the song.
And that would have been beautiful. That would have been beautiful. He probably would find it a crime, though.
He
himself.
would. He would. He'd be like,
At
"Who's this
least-
bitch?"
At least a mini
Busting
crime.
in on my
Trying to get my
my
tips.
hustle.
Trying to get my tips.
Yeah,
That's a worthy story of mini crying time, I think.
I'd still have to look up the words on like I'd have to look them up on my phone or something
That's
to
normal.
follow the song.
Nobody knows lyrics.
I know. I mean, I do know lyrics, but like
Not everyone.
not every single lyric to that song.
What's that little?
Although I do love that song.
Hmm.
It's a good one by Guns N' Roses.
Nice. I'm pretty bad at lyrics, so I'm always gonna need the help in front of me. Yeah. Hey,
That's all I've got.
It was fun. It was a nice story. I'm glad you weren't hurt.
No,
Only your
no,
ears
nobody got
were
hurt. Nobody got hurt. It was funny. It was funny. It was
Cool.
actually a hilarious little moment in my day. So,
That's lovely.
but I still found it to be a crime.
I agree. Well, thank you everybody for listening.
Yes, thank you.
It was a chill time learning about Basque people and their crimes.
Yeah. And be sure to reach out to us for your mini crime time. And it can be anything, and it can be from anywhere, and it doesn't have to be with the Basque Country.
Mhm. We're gonna be excited.
And if you want to audio record it,
also that would be
you can
fun.
send us an audio recording of your story,
Yeah,
and we'll play it.
that would be fun.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks
Have a
for
good
joining
one.
us. Yeah.
What's our cutoff? How do we?
We bid you
Agur.
Crimes of the Basque Lands is written and produced by
Douglas D. Carvalho.
Julie Garcia.
I'm Megan Dooley.
The sound and editing for each episode by
Douglas D. Carvalho.
I'm Megan Dooley.
Theme song written by
Douglas D. Carvalho.
Julie Garcia.
I'm Megan Dooley.
Sung by the choir with no name and produced by Tom Squires. Podcast art by Distinct Signal. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Crimes of the Basque Lands, and contact us at crimesofthebasquelands@gmail.com with story ideas worldwide which have a connection to the Basque Country, or any rave reviews. If you like our podcast, please subscribe, like, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, Agur!